Hey folks, wanted to make a review video for the Heatmaster G4000 outdoor wood boiler. I wanted to make this video in case anybody was considering buying one, considering getting a wood gasification boiler in general, and give a first-hand account of what our experience has been like. We bought this unit in 2022, we installed it in July, and it's been running continuously full-time since October 10th. We decided to get a Heatmaster for a couple of different reasons. One, we had a dealer nearby, and the dealer was really a great guy to work with. He answered all our questions. Other dealers weren't so responsive. The Heatmaster dealer was incredibly responsive. Always got back to whenever we left a message. Always got back to us within an hour. And furthermore, we we're comparing Heatmaster with Central Boiler and Crown Royal, both of which have dealers in our area. And we were impressed with all three. It turns out that Heatmaster was advertising that they had the most efficient unit, and they had the data to back it up. Also, we were comparing Heatmaster with Central Boiler, and we noticed that Heatmaster was probably the simplest to clean. So in the end, we were splitting hairs a little bit with the other brands and noticing, well, they're probably all going to perform relatively the same, but with the ease of maintenance and the higher levels of efficiency and an overall really good reputation and an ironclad warranty, we decided to go with Heatmaster. And, really, we haven't been disappointed. We haven't had any issues. There's been no creosote clogging. There hasn't been any component malfunction, and has been unbelievably efficient on wood consumption. So just to give you an idea of what we're working with in terms of wood consumption, we live in southern Vermont on the side of a mountain, so we don't have much for a windbreak. Directly around our house, the wind typically comes from the northwest, and the northern part of our house is exposed, and so we get quite a wind blast, quite a wind shear on our house during storm events. But we're well insulated. So this is an old farmhouse that's been redone. It's got spray foam insulation on the inside. We have oil heat as a primary, but we're basically using the wood heat all winter. And so we're heating, like I said, 2,600 square feet and domestic hot water for about 5 people. We went through about 1,000 gallons of heating oil in 2021, and that really gave us a scare because price went from $2.15 a gallon all the way up to $6 a gallon. So that was a big impetus for getting an outdoor wood boiler. Was we wanted a way that we could produce our own fuel from our wood lot, reduce our heating expenses, and protect ourselves from the volatility of heating oil prices with the war in Ukraine and everything else going on. We got kind of nervous that we were really susceptible to shocks in the marketplace, and we wanted to decouple ourselves from that. So we decided heating with wood would be a good option for us, and thus far we haven't been disappointed with our wood consumption with the Heatmaster. We've gone through 3 1/3 cord. We're February 10th today, and burning since October 10th. So that has been really impressive. We've never burned with a conventional boiler, so we don't have any comparison to note there, but we did burn for the last 10 years. My wife and I were living in northern Massachusetts, and we were burning with a wood stove, and this has proved to be just a far more enjoyable experience. We keep all the mess outside. We're never really overheating the house. With the wood stove, it was always kind of like all on or all off. It would be freezing in the morning and then boiling at night. It was charming to have the glow of the wood fire kind of at night and when we're hanging around the house, but it was really it was either too hot or too cold. Couldn't really balance it out. With the outdoor wood boiler, we've been able to, set the temperature of the house at 70 degrees. We've left it there all winter. Haven't really touched it. We've had just unbelievably warm, unbelievably hot water continuously all the time. Never really have to worry about turning the heat down or our hot water consumption. And we have all of our firewood in IBC totes. We split our firewood between sort of, we got 2-inch diameter pieces here, and we've got more like 4-inch diameter pieces here. So that's kind of the split size. We're working 16-inch splits. And unlike a conventional wood boiler, that's just going to chew through really small pieces of wood, a wood gasification boiler doesn't burn with a fire surrounding each piece of wood. It actually just supports a coal bed underneath it, and everything sort of bakes into it, and then the smoke is channeled through the wood and down into a nozzle. So it doesn't really matter that our wood is split small. In fact, it's kind of better. It gases easier, it produces fuel easier, and dries out much faster. So yeah, we have been really, really impressed with the advertised claims of high efficiency being matched with the reality of only having burned really, a little over 3 cord since October 10th. And granted, we're having a little bit of a mild winter. We've had a couple of really cold stretches and a couple of mild stretches. I'd say on average, this is a warmer New England winter in southern New England, and I imagine that our wood consumption is going to probably top out around 5.5 cord once we hit April, May, and but maybe on a much more severe winter, we're maybe looking at 7 cord, and that's what we have split this year. We have about 7 cord split, so we're kind of prepared for what we thought was going to be a colder winter, and the reality is that we probably gonna have some of that wood left over for next year. Just to give you an idea of our how much wood we're using, we got this plastic recycling tote that we use to carry our wood over the wood boiler, and we'll fill this tote once for a mild day, so like kind of between low 30s and low 40s, where it's kind of cold in the morning, but then the sun kind of heats up the house, and we're not really having a call for heat. We'll go through about one of those. That'll get us about 12, 13 hours. And then if we're below 20 degrees or even below 30, I'd say below 30 at night, we're going to have a tote and a half is going to get us through a 12-hour evening. And, so that's probably like 5 o'clock till 5 in the morning, something like that. And if it's below 20, we've noticed, the wood consumption goes up, and we don't have many nights where we're below 20, but we'll go maybe through 2 totes. And that fills the firebox till about a little over halfway. So we're not soaking this thing every 4 hours, every 6 hours, and it's not concerning us with the amount of wood that we're going through. And that's been a real pleasure to experience, is to know that, in terms of our wood production needs, we don't need to put up 20 cord or even 15 cord, which, there's some farmers around here in drafty old farmhouses that, they're going through probably 15 cord a year. But they're also doing their hot water in the summertime as well, but burning a lot of green wood. I will say that this boiler probably wouldn't provide the same experience for us if we didn't have good dry wood, and that's kind of a requisite for the wood gasification boilers. Wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the features that sold us on a Heatmaster and really have provided, it just sort of matched the expectation we had. So we were considering a central boiler. The thing that turned us off about central boilers was if you watch any videos or see one in person, you'll notice that their heat exchanger needs to be cleaned manually every couple weeks or every week if you really want it to have sort of an optimal heat transfer. You have to pull out the sort of ladders, these metal ladders inside the heat exchanger, and you have to scour them by hand. You have to go inside the heat exchanger and scour it by hand with a wire brush. It really seemed like a chore. And what we noticed about Heatmaster was that the heat exchangers are internal, and they have these metal spiral rods on the inside that will travel up and down when you rack this rod and scour the heat exchanger tubes. It'll scour all the light fly ash that develops on there and inhibits heat transfer. So you'll rack that rod, 5 to 10 times every time you're loading. Pretty simple, and it keeps those tubes free and clear of any light ash that builds up in them, and basically means that you're getting, sort of an optimal heat transfer, as optimal heat transfer as you can get. I really didn't want to go a week or 2 weeks with cleaning my heat exchanger and have to, spend an extra 20, maybe even 30 minutes doing it manually. That was not something my wife or I wanted to be part of our maintenance regimen. Talk a little bit more about sort of another aspect of the Heatmaster that we really came to appreciate, and that's how easy it is to clean. So really cleaning for us, we're kind of we've noticed that we can get by when it's a little bit warmer. So let's say it's hovering in the 30s. We can clean every week, and if it's below 20 and we're consuming more wood, this thing kind of runs best if we clean it every 3 days. It doesn't get clogged by any means, but we notice that the sort of its efficiency goes up the cleaner the lower chamber is. So we tend to clean it every 3 days, but it's not really a big deal because cleaning really only takes us about 5 minutes. All that's entailed, we have this toolbox that we bought off Amazon. We'll slide it out, we'll unlock it, we'll open it up, and we have it set just underneath the lower chamber like that. We'll open up the lower chamber and pop the plug out, and Heatmaster supplies some tools for pulling any ash and coals that accumulate in the lower chamber and in the side. And we'll just pull that out into the toolbox, lock the toolbox up, put it back underneath the unit. That whole process takes us approximately 5 minutes if you want to do it nice and thorough. We felt like that was a really good bargain. If we're doing that every 3 days, it's not really a big deal to us. You do want to do something like that when the wind is down. So if it's a windy day and we were going to clean it, we can let it go a couple more days until the wind dies down. Because sometimes you're pulling out a couple live coals and you don't want those coals flying around your house. But I'd say that, our maintenance regimen, if it's only taking us 10 minutes a week, is well worth the bargain on these units. A little bit more that impressed us and have appreciated was the rear access here is really clean, easy to set up, and easy to access. Right, you have your upper chamber. That's where the top of your heat exchangers are, and you just have 4 nuts, and that panel slides off, and you can go and vacuum there once a year or twice a year, mid-season, get any fly ash that's accumulating on the top of the heat exchangers. And removing your fan, cleaning it once or twice a year, super easy. We did it a week ago, just a mid-season clean out. It really took us 20 minutes to do that whole process. You can plug this in to your network. You can hardwire it, or you can run it wirelessly, which we did so that we can see the burn temp and where it's at indoors. So it does have a computer controller. That computer modulates a couple of air passageways to create a really efficient burn. There's an air passageway into the upper firebox, which regulates how much fuel is being generated in terms of smoke. And then you have a secondary air passageway, a secondary damper here that's regulating how much oxygen or how much air is going into the flame and into the combustion chamber to create a really efficient sort of blowtorch that generates your heat. So in general, the central boiler has a computer controller, but Crown Royal doesn't. We're really pleased with a unit that does have that level of modulation and precision, because again, we've only burned 3 in a third cord in a pretty cold and windy area of Vermont. This year's heating prices have been between $4.50 and $5.50 a gallon, and we just didn't want to take that sucker punch to our wallets. We think the return on investment for this unit is going to be, I don't know, we're looking at 4 or 5 years if fuel prices stay up. And that'll all depend on how much more wood we want to pull out of our woodlot and how much we want to buy in from a local logger. So really that's it. I have nothing but good things to say about our experience with Heatmaster. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'll check the comments and try to reply to you as soon as I can. And hit the like button if it's something that you thought was useful. And we'll look forward to giving you some more videos. We'll make one about how we make our firewood, and we'll make one about the economics, and we'll give a post-season review probably in May. How much wood did we use? What, again, going into the spring, what was it like burning? And there may even be a chance that we'll run it for domestic hot water. So we'll throw in a few update videos as we go along. All right, folks, take good care. Hey, folks, just wanted to add one more thing to this review video. Completely forgot to mention it, but it was probably the biggest selling point for us, and certainly has met that expectation, and that is how clean these units burn. Heatmaster's G series obviously are wood gasification boilers, and in the process of wood gasification, you're turning all that smoke that's produced when you burn wood into a fuel source that's combusted, and what comes out the stack of these is nothing but hot air. And if it's cold enough out, you'll see a little bit of steam coming out, but never any smoke. You may get a little bit of smoke right when you put in a fresh load and the dampers are changing to meet the new conditions. It might smoke for just a minute, but really just barely any smoke will come out, and then it'll all be steam. So for my wife and I, we wanted the wood boiler near the house, and we really didn't want to be like surrounded in smoke when the thing was smoldering along. So a wood gasification unit really made sense to us. And I tell you, I probably wouldn't have believed it until I'd seen it. But the first time we fired it up and it started gassing and there was no smoke coming out of this, our minds were blown, and we were really, really happy. And we knew we had made the right choice. So just wanted to just provide that feedback that these units really do burn smoke free. And if that's something you're looking for, or something you need because of the proximity of your neighbors or the way that smoke collects in your area, you can really count on these things if they're burning right to not produce any smoke. So that's it. Just wanted to add that in the video, and hope you enjoy it.